You know why I'm here. Because it's a very important day. It is very important. The Supreme Court is hearing the Electoral Bonds case. And for those of you who have been following my work for all these years, probably know how obsessed I am with this issue. A lot has happened, and finally we are here in a place where the hearing is happening in Supreme Court. So I thought, if not on my channel, where else will you get extensive coverage of the electoral bonds and political funding issue? So here we are. Yes, we are here. My plan is this week I will come online as much as I can because the hearing is going on. I was watching it all day. So I will give you like a gist of what all has happened today as well. We'll take it slowly. And meanwhile, I'll also tell you about the electoral bond story in general. Let us begin with the origin story. So first things first, I have done a short video on what are electoral bonds. If you want, you can go and watch that. But in short, I'll tell you right now what it is. Electoral bonds are essentially a special form of currency that can be used by political parties only. What happens is if you are someone who wants to donate to a political party, you will go to the State Bank of India, select branches of State Bank of India. You will buy this bond, which will not have your name on it. It will have an amount on it and a secret serial number. Then that piece of paper you can take and then you can go to your favorite political party that you want to donate to. You give that paper to them, right? And then they go to the SBI and they redeem that. So essentially there is a transfer happening anyway of funds, but the SBI acts as a middleman. And since this bond doesn't have anybody's name on it, neither the party nor the person, it is like a currency. It's essentially that, right? It's basically a way to hide who is donating to which party. In a very basic way, that is what an electoral bond is. So how did this whole thing come about is what I want to deal with today. But I will also tell you a little bit of fun story about political funding and what has happened in the past. Starting with this one. Yeah. This is a news item from March 29th, 2014. This was 10 days before the general elections where Adarniya Shri Sir Supreme Leader Narendra Modi won. 10 days before that. The headline reads, Delhi High Court finds BJP Congress guilty of receiving foreign funds. This was supposed to be like an earthquake. Okay, 10 days before the elections, the Delhi High Court found both BJP and Congress of accepting foreign funds. Now, how did that happen? What happened was that there is this company called Vedanta, which is registered in the UK. It has two subsidiaries called Sterlite and Sesa, which are subsidiaries in India. Now, what happened is that they gave donations to both Congress and BJP through an electoral trust. Now, someone asked how were parties funded before electoral bonds. So there were a few ways to fund political parties. One is, of course, cash. So if you are someone who wants to donate to a political party, you can give 19,999 rupees to them and you don't have to declare it, and neither does the party who gave it to them. So if it's above 20,000, anything like cash, bank, whatever it is, the party has to declare the name of the donor. That was the rule. And the other method of also doing donations was something called electoral trusts. What it was like a semi-opaque system. Semi-opaque, I call it, because like in this case, Vedanta's case, for example, what happened is Vedanta created one electoral trust, and I think one more company was involved in that electoral trust. They would give money to this electoral trust, and then the electoral trust would donate to different political parties. In this case, both BJP and Congress, they gave money to. So electoral trust, you could still track who gave the money in the electoral trust and where did it go. So it was not really opaque. They had created a middleman, but it was not hidden. Right? You can dig and still find it. They did that between 2008 and 2010 is when they did this whole donation thing. Then the Association of Democratic Reforms saw this and they filed a case against both BJP and Congress, asked the court to examine this whole thing. And the Delhi High Court actually found them guilty. They said appropriate action needs to be taken against both BJP and Congress for taking foreign funds, as you can see from the headline. At this point, BJP has so many members, technically through its membership drive, they can say they took a single rupee from each and be like, do a membership charge thing. That's true, Ronak, and I mean, they don't even need to do that anymore. They can just say that, oh, so we collected all this money and then electoral bonds and we got it. I mean, they can do whatever. It's just completely anonymous. Even if it's cash, anonymous, electoral bonds also anonymous. So after that whole drama happened between BJP and Congress being found guilty by the Delhi High Court, in 2016, in the finance bill, which was passed in Parliament, there was a small amendment made to the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act is the one that they were found guilty under. What they did was that they made a tiny bit of change about how foreign entities are defined. That any company which has a 51% Indian share of equity will not be considered foreign company anymore. 49% and below, if you have foreign equity, that's fine. So 51% still Indian. That's the amendment they made. And the reasoning that they had given was that, oh, it is becoming super difficult for companies to contribute for corporate social responsibility. They're like, oh, there are so many companies which have this arrangement where there is a small foreign, component in their equity and they want to give CSR for people. So this FCRA will come and then they will not be allowed to give corporate social responsibility and donate to like good things happening in the country. So we are amending the bill, amending the act to make the companies not foreign entities anymore. Like a little bit of twist, right? But the thing is, you know what they did? They made this amendment in 2016, but they did it retrospectively. What that means is that they said that this amendment will actually be active from 2010 onwards. 2016, they went back in time and then made the amendment from 2010 onwards. What that means is that that case I was talking about earlier, that just vanished because the subsidiaries actually met those criteria according to this new law, which used a legal time machine, and they went back in time, changed the law, and they were like, not guilty, guys. And then the Congress and the BJP went to the Supreme Court and argued together. And they were like, yes, we are all clear, not violating the FCRA anymore according to the current law, which is also the past law, which we just changed. Now, what I wanted to show you, Minister of State, Home, Kiren Rijiju told The Hindu that the amendment which was cleared by the Lok Sabha in the recently concluded budget session will ensure that donations made by such foreign shareholding companies to entities including political parties will not attract provisions of the FCRA 2010. Basically, Kiren Rijiju also admitted that now foreign firms can fund political parties. So this is an article I did. It is called You've Been Punked. This was when I was working in Parliament. I did this article. After the whole 2016 thing happened, where they made the FCRA amendment, I got really obsessed with the finance bill in general. I was like, oh, is saal kya kar rahe hai? What are they doing in this year finance bill mein? And as expected, in 2017, shit went down and they brought in some major things into the bill. One is, they gave extra powers to income tax officials. They could enter and search any person's property without giving any real reason. Basically, that was the amendment. The second thing they did was the bill enables anybody to donate to political parties anonymously using a new instrument called electoral bonds. This 2017 is where electoral bonds comes in. But they did another fun thing. They said earlier there was a cap on how much donations a company can give to a political party. That cap was removed. So Yogi Adityanath had won the election. He became the chief minister, and on that very day he had come into Parliament, and there was like this whole standing ovation that he got, and yay, everybody was like, yay, Yogi ji, you're amazing. And that is when this bill was brought in, and in the last moment they brought in 30 plus amendments to the finance bill, like literally 10 minutes before it was considered, and it was not circulated to MPs. I think a part of it was circulated, a part of it wasn't. present, and it was just mashed through parliament, which was the most scary thing I have ever seen. And electoral bonds was one of the things that were passed like this. So this is an article in Scroll written by Rohan. In the name of transparency, BJP has made it easier for parties to get anonymous corporate funds. BJP is cracking down on the black cash in the electoral system, but opening the door to American-style special interests. So remember, in the last part, I told you the two changes that they made. One was, of course, they introduced the electoral bonds through the Finance Bill 2017. The second thing is they removed the corporate donation cap. What that means is this, right? The BJP has now gone a step further. One of the last-minute amendments added to the Finance Bill 2017 included a change to the Companies Act that removes restrictions on how much money can be donated to political parties and deletes a requirement that companies tell the public who they donated money to. PRS explains, currently a company may contribute up to 7.5% of the average of its net profits in the last 3 financial years to political parties, right? So 3 years, they take an average of the profits, and out of that, 7.5% is the cap of how much you could donate to political parties. The company is required to disclose the amount of contributions made to political parties in its profit and loss account, along with the name of the political parties to which such a contribution is made. Okay, so those two things. Now, the amendments to the finance bill propose to remove the limit for contributions that a company may make to a political party, and the second, the requirement of a company to disclose the name of a political party to which the contribution has been made. So now what happened is that because this cap is removed, a company can donate 100% of its profits or whatever is in its bank accounts, turn it into an electoral bond and give it to whatever party they want. What this ended up doing was essentially shell companies. If you have seen my Adani saga, you would see like some similarities here and there, right? About how shell companies operate as well. Think about it. When a company is donating to a political party, right? We are assuming that they are doing some legit business. They're doing some legit business. They have a profit coming in. They're, doing services or goods or trade or whatever they do, right? Legit business. The reason why this limit was put in was because it can't be that you just give your entire profit and whatever is in your bank to the political party, right? That doesn't make sense. That's the behavior of a shell company. Shell company which was created for the purpose of this. So they just removed the cap. Again, no reason was given why this happened. One of the things I think we should all look out for is a reasoning for this part of it, which is, why did you remove the cap? What was the reason for this? It makes zero sense. Absolutely, I can certainly see the BJP actually being funded by some Chinese interests. Funny how they are the ones who raise the most voice, although superficially, over how China is destroying India. Udayan, that's the thing, right? Even in the court, this argument was made today that if you have allowed foreign funding to political parties, if you have removed the cap and also made it anonymous through electoral bonds, all these three things, then who knows what money is coming into Indian politics anymore, right? China, Russia, Israel, Palestine, Hamas, I don't know. Who will tell us? Nobody will tell us. Also, if you have all these FCRA rules for media companies, foreign companies cannot invest in media, even atomic energy and a bunch of other areas where they are strictly prohibited from putting in FDI, foreign direct investment. Political parties ke liye it seems to be okay. So it's bizarre. For NGOs, etc., they are like, no, foreign funding. NewsClick, foreign funding. Oh, what is happening here? George Soros. Who knows? George Soros might be funding other parties also directly. Isn't it better to fund political parties who are in government rather than all these chutput NewsClick type people, or me who am accused of for being funded by George Soros? Main kya hi kar lunga? What will they do? They do videos, man. What difference will that make? But a party in power, now that is something worth funding. Yeah. The most bizarre thing happened after this. 2017, we have electoral bonds coming in, right? Yeah, yeah. 2018, another thing happens with the finance bill. In 2018, what they did was, remember when I told you that in 2016 they changed the FCRA rules retrospectively to 2010? In 2018, they changed it to 1976. They said that any money given to political parties from 1976 onwards through this whole new foreign funding situation, 51% Indian majority and the rest subsidiary, from 1976 onwards will be legal. Why 1976? Because that is when the original FCRA Act came to be. They made a retrospective amendment spanning what, 45 years now? No, more. Calculate. So many years. This, when I saw this, it blew my mind, boss. I was like, ये क्या time machine है? Like इंदिरा गांधी तक चले गए to legalize. What? Indira Gandhi? I can't. This is the scheme which was introduced, right? So what is the electoral bond? I already told you in the beginning, but here are some more details that are very important because we'll be building that up into the hearings that come, and it will give you more context about what is happening in general. It says that electoral bond is a bearer instrument in the nature of a promissory note and an interest-free banking instrument. What an electoral bond is that you're buying it, so it is like a note. It is a store of value. Okay, so remember when I told you how the electoral bond doesn't have any name on it and how it's a currency? Because person A can buy an electoral bond for whatever amount and give it to person B, then C, then D, and then D can give it to a political party, and then the political party can redeem it from the account. To their account. So essentially the chain itself can be insane because it is a store of value. It is a currency. You can just transfer it from one person to the other person to the other person. You can literally use it like currency. A citizen of India or a body incorporated in India will be eligible for the purchase of the bond. There is a tricky little thing here. Body incorporated in India, this connects to the foreign funding thing that I told you, the FCRA thing. So essentially incorporated in India, but it doesn't really say if it should have like a majority capital in India or anything. It should just be incorporated in India. Electoral bonds would be issued, purchased for any value in multiple, any value. There is no cap for how many electoral bonds you can buy. For multiples of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore. In the court, this was also pointed out that 95% of electoral bonds sold till now in the last 5 years were of the value of 10 lakh or 1 crore or more. 1 crore multiples, 10 lakh multiples. Which normal citizen is doing this? Are they buying this? I doubt it. That's what even Prashant Bhushan argued, that the fact that only high value bonds are being purchased and given to political parties means that these are corporate donations, big corporate donations from specified branches of the State Bank of India. So the purchaser would be allowed to buy electoral bonds on due fulfillment of all extant KYC norms and by making payment of a bank account. So they have to do KYC, right? So when you're buying a bond, the usual account opening KYC where you give your ID and whatever, so to the State Bank, right? That process is happening. So the State Bank is adding a layer of anonymity where you don't know who is giving to who. But at the same time, what this also means is that the State Bank knows. The State Bank knows who is buying the bond. They have all the KYC and everything. And as I will show you later, they can also connect the dots to who is getting it. It will not carry a name of the payee. Electoral bonds would have only a life of 15 days, during which it can be used for making donation only to the political parties registered under Section 29A of the Representation of People's Act, which secured not less than 1% of the votes polled in the last general election to the House of the People or a legislative assembly. So it's not like any political party can take electoral bonds and redeem them. They should have fought an election and they should have gotten at least 1% of the vote to actually use this, which is also really unfair. If I form a new party tomorrow, I can't take electoral bonds. I need to fight an actual election, get 1% vote, and 1% vote can be huge in a lot of ways. So yeah, That's a big restriction there. Bonds under this scheme shall be available for purchase of a period of 10 days each in the months of January, April, July, and October. Now, here's the thing. Electoral bonds cannot be bought and sold at any time. They will have windows opening in January, April, July, and October every year for 10 days so that you can buy those bonds. And it also says, as may be specified by the central government. So later what happened in the last few years, they ended up opening more windows anyway. It was very random. An additional period of 30 days shall be specified by the central government in the year of the general election to the House of the People. So whenever there's a general election, an additional 30 days is just casually added. The bond shall be encashed by an eligible political party only through a designated bank account with the authorized bank. That is how electoral bonds work. Do you think Supreme Court would give a sound judgment and not like the one they gave on gay marriage where they directed the government to draft a law since they don't have any power to implement? Mandalorian. Oh, Mandalorian. Yes, hi. I don't know. Yeah, but either way, it would be interesting. Again, they might say, no, let it be. Electoral bonds is great. All is good, whatever. Which means practically elections are destroyed forever till any government comes to change it. But if the Supreme Court gives a stamp on this, then I believe for at least a few decades, no government will want to change it. Because the party in power is directly benefiting from this scheme. As I said earlier, most of the donations that are being given through electoral bonds are only to parties in power. So, which government will want to change it? No government will want to change it. Congress, if it comes to power, they'll be like, now we'll use it. BJP, if it comes to power, they'll be like, we'll use it. TMC, if it's in power in the state, they'll be like, we'll also use it. So basically, if the Supreme Court says yes to this whole thing, it would be an absolute freaking disaster, according to me. Elections will be broken forever. That's it. End of times. Yeah, I'm saying it. End of time. I feel like that shady 20,000 odd crores of Adani are all BJP money funneled out of the system through means like this. Again, Ronak, we can do all the theorizing that we want, right? But unless we have actual evidence of that happening, which they have actively prevented us from getting, we cannot say anything. We can just theorize. That's the whole thing. If I say something about Adani that, oh, maybe he took whatever, I will be sued. Yeah. If you file an RTI, you will get no response. They have actively made it so that asking for these things might also amount to defamation and a criminal offense. You never know, because I'll be making an accusation. The Adani people can just say that, oh, तेरे को क्या पता? Screw you. 100 crore ka defamation, criminal whatever case against you can happen. So theorizing is all we can do. It's a messed up situation. Remember when I was telling you that there is a secret number in the electoral bond? What the government claimed is that electoral bonds are completely anonymous. So the name of the person who is buying it is not mentioned. The party that is getting the money is also not mentioned. But you know who knows who is getting this? The State Bank of India. You really need to read this. Secret policing, the Quint finds hidden numbers on electoral bonds. What she did essentially, she bought an electoral bond, she took it to a forensic lab and asked them, listen, can you put it under like some ultraviolet light and see what happens? And voila, there is a number, an invisible number on the electoral bonds. So this is what an electoral bond looks like. It's a promissory note, date of issue 5th April. Yeah, valid up to 15 days. And she bought it for $1,000. Of course, she's not going to give a crore, I guess. Poonam doesn't have that much money. No names, nothing, right? And then they put it through, they put it through UV light and look, there are numbers. What this means is that the State Bank of India can track who bought the electoral bond and which party got it. The moment you put a number like this on it, it is not anonymous anymore. So, in total, it is anonymous for you, it is anonymous for me, it is anonymous for everybody else. Who is it not anonymous for? Number one, the person who bought the bond and gave it to the party, assuming it's the same person who bought it and gave it, the political party who got it, because of course they'll talk to each other, no? Ki, oh, I gave you this much money, I gave you this much money, now you will do something in return for me. The second party that knows is the SBI. And who owns the SBI? The government owns the SBI. So who else knows? The government knows. So the party in power actually can find out which donor gave money to which party. But the other parties have no such advantage, and neither do citizens. So it is like this one-sided, lopsided information system which gives all the power to those who are in power. And it compounds it by magnitudes. Crazy times, guy. Crazy times, I tell you. Crazy times. SBI knows all. SBI has to have all the KYC details. Yes, exactly. So KYC details can be connected to the number. Then the number can be seen which party has been redeeming this bond. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. It feels so bizarre and weird that I feel like I'm experiencing this in a dream. WTF, Prajna. Thank you. I'm glad you're having that effect in your life. I've been having this effect for years now. I'm glad we are able to share this collective nightmare now. The last part is, of course, about the hearing that happened. I'm going to take you through it now. But before that, please do like the stream. Please do consider becoming a member. This is my bread and butter now. This is how I earn a living. And I hope you are finding this useful. This week, I'm going to be live pretty much every night till the hearing is on, because there is a lot more detail that I will give you. But thank you so much for being here. Please do consider becoming a member and supporting the stream and the channel. So Prashant Bhushan made this argument, the first argument that was made. The ruling party has received more than 5,000 crore in donations through electoral bonds. Electoral bonds has been active for 5 years now. BJP by far has exceeded most parties, all parties, donation wise. The permissible limit of spending on elections in Lok Sabha is about 1 crore per candidate. Legally, it is mandated that every candidate who is standing for elections will limit their spending to 1 crore. Okay, so it's not technically 1 crore. Kapil Sibal also clarified that it can be 70 lakh to 95 lakh depending on the state that they are fighting the election from. But for this argument purpose, they are assuming 1 crore. The thing is, the political party has no such limit. Okay, so to build this argument, what he says, if BJP fields candidates in all constituencies, it will be max 545 crore that can be spent overall on Lok Sabha elections. 545 seats, 1 crore per seat. So in Lok Sabha elections, every 5 years, they will have to spend 545 crore because 1 crore limit, right? That's what we are assuming. But BJP has already received 10x of that. 10 times more than the amount required for Lok Sabha elections of the permissible spending limit through electoral bonds in these 5 years. How is this allowed? Of course, there is an argument that can be made about, of course, they're fighting assembly elections also, right? But I still feel if you calculate even those, this amount is nuts. 5,000 crore to a political party is kind of nuts. The second argument that was made was the government claimed during demonetization they want to reduce the use of cash and turn India into a cashless society. I hope you remember that. They were like, oh, cashless society, and then Paytm karo, digital India, all the things. But that doesn't seem to apply to political parties. Parties and candidates standing for elections spend more than the permissible amount, but in cash or via proxies. See, that's what I mean. So like if a candidate is standing for elections, there is this permissible limit, which means that the election commission also has to track it. Every candidate has to give a daily expense report to the election commission, and they track it and see how much they have spent it. But the only reason why a candidate is able to do that is because they are not spending cash. If they spend it in cash, they don't need to give any report or whatever. Even the party, if it's spending in cash, they don't need to give any report or whatever. Or if you're doing it via proxy, again, no need to tell election commission anything. The election commission has admitted that it can't catch such candidates because they spend in cash. EC has said this. If you want to reduce cash in politics and elections, just make a simple amendment saying cash spending by candidates during elections amounts to corruption. See, Simple. If you actually had the intention of removing black money from the election process, you would do this, which is any sort of cash spending done by candidates or political parties during elections amounts to corruption and you can be acted upon. Did they do that? No. Instead of doing that, they have brought in the electoral bonds to donate to parties anonymously. Corporations can give crores of money to any party with even without telling anything, but if we want to donate a little bit, we have to disclose our entire income history. See, that's the thing, Abhilash. Transparency is applicable to us, the citizens. We have to give them our Aadhaar number, we have to give them our passport details wherever they ask for it. Kal police aa jayega mere ghar pe and they will be like, phone do, and I can't even say anything. They'll take my desktop away and look through everything I have, and I can't do shit about it. It's true. And then when it comes to political parties and corporations who are donating to them, doesn't matter. They don't need to disclose anything. They can be completely anonymous about what they are doing. See, that's what I mean, right? It's such a garbage situation. Argument number 3. This is where Kapil Sibal started arguing in court. There is nothing in the Electoral Bonds Scheme which says that the donation money is to be used for election purposes. Political parties can spend their money any way they like. Example, party can use it to build swanky headquarters, give advertisements to media houses in order to push their ideology, can be used to buy land, it can be used for anything. What can be anything? I don't know, Neeraj said it. I don't say these things. What can it be used for? What can the money be used for? You can decide. The money coming through electoral bond is not tied to or restricted to only election expenses. See, this is what I mean. So when the scheme was actually introduced, there is no real criteria about when you get the donation, how are you supposed to spend it. So the party can just keep it. They can earn interest on it. They can use it to build headquarters. They can use it to buy a media house if they want to. Yeah, they can use it to buy, I don't know, other things like human beings. I don't know how that happens, right? Nobody knows how that happens. That's a very good argument that Kapil Sibal made, because think about it this way. If this scheme needs to exist and it is restricted to only election expenses, what Prashant Bhushan said, 1 crore per candidate, you can basically spend it on the candidate or whatever it is, and only for election purposes during a period of time, maybe like 2 months before the elections, the period starts and ends right when the election is happening. During that time, you can spend the election money, like the electoral bond money, but only for that purpose, and it has to be tracked throughout. If that be the case, I feel like I would still, be like, okay, fine. But in this case, they literally get a blank check. They can spend it on anything they want, which is the second argument that is connected to this, right? The nature of electoral bond scheme protects those who have committed a crime. Okay, hold on to your seats. For instance, a company can donate to a political party without asking for favors. But then if they commit crimes, the party they have donated to will not act against them. Think about it. A few people were arguing with me and saying that, how are you assuming that when a company gives electoral bonds to parties, they're getting something in return? Stupid argument, because why would a company give a part of their profits to a political party if they're not getting anything in return? Assuming it's a company which is answerable to shareholders will be like, what the hell, man? Why the hell are you doing this? Like, this is also our money. Why are you giving away a chunk of our profit to a random political party for no reason? Yeah. Second, if a company is giving money to political party, abhi de diya, maybe they didn't ask for anything in return, but then let's say they default on a loan later. How likely is that party to act against them? Very not likely, right? Maybe like they do some fraud, or maybe they do money laundering, or maybe they open shell companies in fun beachy locations like Mauritius or whatever, and then they are like, ooh, but I gave you donations, now don't do anything. Keep your ED and CBI away from me. I gave you donations. Remember I gave you donations? And the party will be like, yeah, I need donations next year also, guys. So like let's not do anything to them. That's the argument. It protects those who commit crime. So if you have donated to a political party, if you have given electoral bonds to a political party, you sort of get like a get out of jail free card, basically. This is like protection money given by criminals so that they cannot be caught. Good logic, good logic. This argument was made by Shadan Farasat in Supreme Court. He's a CPIM lawyer. Shadan Farasat said that CPIM is the only party who has taken a principled stand not to take electoral bonds. Electoral bonds cannot be purchased using cash. Only check DD transfer can be used. Since this scheme claims to bring in white money into politics, how can it exclude cash for buying bonds? Think about it. Black money, cash, right? Oh, shady money, cash money is the usual thing that is in our head, which is black money is essentially money that you have earned which you don't want to pay taxes on, so you're just hiding it, you're anonymizing it. So the thing is, you can only buy electoral bonds through check, DD and transfer, right? But the whole argument being given by the government is that electoral bonds is supposed to bring in white money into the political system. So doesn't it make sense to allow cash as a mechanism to buy electoral bonds? Because then once you give it to the party, it becomes white, because bringing cash back into the banking system technically turns it white. But electoral bond scheme explicitly prohibits that from happening. So how is this a thing? This argument was made by Nizam Pasha. So 4 lawyers made arguments today. So I've just compiled it a little bit. There were a lot more arguments made, of course. You can go back and look at the whole live stream if you want. These are the most interesting ones that I found, which I think you need to know. That concludes our whole live stream essentially on electoral bonds. To the people who are watching this in the video form, which I will cut out and put out by tomorrow, please do consider coming for the live stream. I will probably be doing a live stream throughout this week while the hearing is going on, and I will keep telling you more about electoral bonds like I just did. Today was just the origin story. Next, I will also tell you and give you some data about what has happened in the last 5 years when it came to electoral bonds. How much was bought, what windows opened up, how random nonsense kept happening, how windows were changed, how much was it before general elections, how much is it now, what happened. There's a lot to talk about there as well. Also, the government is going to argue maybe tomorrow or day after. The government side is going to argue, so that would be an interesting thing to break down as well. So yeah, please do consider coming for the live streams, and if not, you'll always get this video.